Having the support of your family is, in my opinion, more important than getting there faster.
Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host, Eric and Tiffany Vogel. We spent several hard years building a rental property portfolio so we could have more time with our family and live our ideal life. Finding your path can be difficult, so we're here to help guide you along the way with lessons, tips, and tricks to design and implement your dream life through real estate investing. Now sit back, turn up the volume, and get ready for this episode of the On Purpose Investor. Hey, you Pathfinders, and welcome back to the On Purpose Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Eric, with my beautiful, lovely, still pregnant at the time of recording, co-host,
Tiffany.
Possibly by the time this airs.
I would hope by the time this airs, yeah.
That we have a baby bairn in our arms.
Wow. You watch way too much Outlander. That's
a great show.
It is. It's not for the kids.
No, definitely not for the kids. It's a little steamy and romantic at times.
And gory.
And gory.
Good God.
But if you don't know anything about Outlander on Netflix, it's worth a look at.
Yeah.
But try to limit yourself on screen time because you can get sucked in pretty quick. So today, episode 32, is it a family business? And you might ask yourself, well, I don't know. I either have a big family or I have no family or I have a small family. Do I want them in my business?
Yeah.
Do you want them to be a part of your journey? And if I could answer that in one sentence, I would say it's worth it. It's worth it to have your family with you alongside your victories and failures and success at the end of it, because you need that family support along the way. Because there's going to be times where you're really needing someone to give you a pick-me-up or to help you walk through problems or to just guide you along the way morally, spiritually, and sometimes financially and things like that. You need that family support system.
Yeah, and just picking up where you might need to spend more time working on the business, having help around the house. So I think a lot of people getting started have trouble because their spouse isn't on board.
Right.
And we talked on season 1, episode 10 and 11, about how to get your spouse on board. But with having your family involved, it makes the process a lot easier.
Right.
But you shouldn't let that hold you back from getting started.
No,
there are
not
ways
at all.
to have your family engaged, and you can make it something that works for everyone.
And things you're likely going to hear from your family are things like, why would you get into real estate investing? You're going to be fixing toilets at midnight, or you're going to have tenants that don't pay, or you're going to have people destroy your homes.
Or my favorite, my stocks don't call me to replace a toilet.
Right. You're going to hear all kinds of noise that surrounds your decision to chase after this dream. And you're not really chasing after the dream of real estate investing. You're chasing after the dream of what that can provide to you and ultimately your family.
Right.
So, this whole season, we've been talking about roadblocks and barriers that prevent you from getting started or moving forward. And this one is one that at times really does just completely stop someone in their tracks from ever making that first step. When you go to your spouse or you go to your partner and you say, this Thursday, there's a real estate meeting. It's 30 minutes away. I'd really like to go, and I'd really love for you to go with me. And if your spouse or partner says, well, I think that's really dumb. There's so much to do around the house. You should spend your time here because there's so much to get done here. And, what do you do with that? What do you do with that challenge of where you spend your time? Because at the beginning, in the first several months, it's going to be a lot of accumulating knowledge, a lot of getting to know the lingo, immersing yourself in the culture and the community of real estate investing. And to your spouse or partner, unless you're talking about what you're learning and they're on that journey with you, they're going to just see it as something equivalent to you got a new video game and you're halfway through a campaign. And, well, what benefit is there really? So we're going to go through the different things that you can communicate with your spouse or partner and how to get them not just, understanding of the business, but interested and fired up to be a part of it with you.
Right. And we were fortunate when we got started. We were both excited and on the same page. So that made our journey easier in a lot of ways.
Right.
But we have a lot of friends who their spouse is not involved at all or very minimally involved.
Yeah.
But they're still supportive. And I think it's a give and take on both sides.
Exactly.
And as you're wanting to pursue this, incentivizing your spouse to come along with you.
Mm-hmm.
I know Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets and Open Door now, Open Door Capital, not Open Door, the big conglomerate.
Big difference.
He convinced his wife to read Rich Dad Poor Dad by offering to read the entire Twilight series.
That was a big sacrifice he made.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the books. They're easy reads. But
I couldn't even stand to watch the opening scenes of Twilight, let alone reading the series.
But would you do it if it meant your spouse was reading a book that changed your perspective?
So, yeah, that sense of compromise. You know, you're going to compromise your comfort and enjoyment and, you know, sense of fulfillment by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad because you have no interest in that. And I'm going to completely sacrifice what I would enjoy by reading Twilight.
Right.
And while I may not ever enjoy what I'm reading with Twilight, I might find things I enjoy. But while I may not enjoy it, I'm showing my partner that it's worth getting into that for them.
It's valuing what your partner values and
Exactly.
being willing to invest in something your partner's interested so that they will invest in what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good trade-off. I mean, it clearly worked.
At the end of the day, he could have conversations about Twilight because while he may not have enjoyed it, he gained knowledge.
Right.
Like, can you imagine, you know, this person turned into a werewolf and then ran through the woods and saved something? I don't know anything about Twilight.
Yeah.
I know it's werewolves and glittery skin.
Yeah. I think a lot of the point of it is you're understanding your partner better and what makes them tick. And it opens a door to really understand their why for life and what they want in their dream life. And encouraging them to dream big. Because I think a lot of us just live life thinking that where we're at's all we're going to get.
Yeah.
It's not for me to have this grandiose life.
So you got to be very, you know, transparent in saying, here's why I want to do this. Here's how we as a family are going to benefit. By you allowing me to, not just allowing me to do this, but supporting me through this, you know, I'm shooting for a better future for us.
Right.
And they may get caught up on, well, how much money is it going to take? Are you going to put us in a financial situation? Are you going to be away from the family for a very long time? There's things that you can do to mitigate those concerns. And first off, we're going to backtrack just a little bit and say it starts with understanding their vision, their roadmap, their big whys. But then next, you got to sit down and plot out, where is the family right now? Where is your family right now financially, spiritually? Where are y'all emotionally? What is the family dynamic? And are you comfortable with where the family dynamic is? And now forecast and say, where do we want our family in 3 years? Is our family still only eating out once a month because that is our once a month celebration? Or does our family eat out once a week now? Is our family saving up every 3 years to go on that one vacation to Disney World? Or are we going to Disney World every 6 months? What does that family dynamic look like?
Yeah. What is your dream life for your family?
Right.
And build out that roadmap for 3 years in the future. 3 years is kind of a good chunk of time for you to be able to accomplish a lot, but it's not so far in the future that it's hard to imagine. I mean, I think 3 years from now, we're just thinking about our kids and what they'll look like. It's just hard to wrap my head around. So
no, absolutely. It's really difficult to understand, like, what are the kids going to physically look like?
Right.
Like, that's almost impossible to envision, but what are your kids doing if you have kids? What are you and your spouse doing if you don't have kids? What are y'all doing as a family?
Right.
You know, do y'all still wake up in the same bed that you're in? Or do you have a very nice Tempur-Pedic, you know, elevating bed that when you wake up, the alarm clock goes off and the bed vibrates and it sits you up and rolls you out of bed?
The kind of bed that you'll spend more on it than you've bought some of your cars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting out to those type of dynamics of, well, do we still have this Keurig? Or have we upgraded and gotten this cappuccino machine
Right.
that is automated?
Right.
Are we still cutting our own grass?
Yeah.
Or is someone servicing our grass for us?
Right.
You know, do you upgrade from that old snapper lawnmower to a zero turn? If you don't know what a snapper lawnmower is, you're too young for this. Just kidding. I was trying to meme that.
Oh.
If that makes sense.
No.
You know, they say, like, if you don't know what this is, you're too young for me type thing.
Okay.
You don't know what those
No.
are? Okay. Well,
Anyways.
that was a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Anyways, have that family roadmap.
Right.
Know where your family's going. Know what direction y'all are going so that you have that as an image to shoot for.
Right.
Because that will be the fuel in your family's tank to stay motivated and
Right.
to stay supportive.
So when you need time to go to that meeting, you can kind of say, you know, this meeting is going to help me get us those twice a year trips to Disney.
Right.
Whatever it is for your family. It's going to vary.
Right.
We had a friend who had an opportunity to retire early from his job and told his wife, if you provide for us for the next couple of years, I'll provide for us for the rest of our lives. And I think the way he phrased that just made it more chewable for her. She was ready to take that plunge because she trusted that he would provide if he had the time to make it happen.
But what led up to that was that they had both been attending seminars about what he was going to go do. And they had done it a few times. They had made a few deals here and there. And when he posed that question, she felt confident in his ability to provide,
Right.
to fulfill his commitment. And so what you have to do is you got to make sure that you're priming your family to trust you, to trust that you can fulfill your obligation. So, you know, let's say that you want to get into this and you have a family. Let's say you got a family of, you know, a wife and 2 kids. And let's say your kids are 4 and 5 years old, or 3 and 5. And you really want to go do this thing because you want your family to be 3 years down the road in this different spot. And you've shared your roadmap and you've created that together, and your family has all dreamed about, you know, you're going to Disney World twice a year, or maybe you have season passes and you just go every 2 weeks over the summer. You know, that's a really big dream. Or, you know, let's say you're traveling a lot and you bought a motor coach and you're RVing around. And now your family is energized about what life could be. And they are supportive, and you're going to this meetup that's 30 minutes away once a month. You've attended these seminars, and you're coming back with all this information, and you share it with your family. You're like, yo, this is what I want to do. We're going to wholesale for the next 12 months, and we're going to be able to build up this type of money. And by understanding, hey, that's the step we're taking. That's the next step we're taking. And by doing that, we're going to build up a nest egg of like $50,000. But we're not going to touch that. That's for the business. Your family's going to be hyper supportive, or even get into the business with you. Your spouse might be online looking at properties. Your spouse might be the one that's helping you write the letters or put the letters in the mailbox. Or when your spouse takes the kids to school, or, you know, on a Sunday after church, and you're going and doing something, they're probably driving and looking at houses and identifying properties as potential purchases. So it becomes this family affair where everyone's bought in because they can share this roadmap. They can share this big idea of what the family can be. So, you know, that's just breaking it down to that type of micro level of you've identified how you're going to do it for this section of your roadmap. You know, and the next section of the roadmap is probably buying properties and turning them into rental properties, and then they become part of that as well.
Right.
You know, the kids get there on the job site, and, you know, y'all are all in there working, sweeping up, painting, putting up drywall mud, all kind of stuff. You know, make it a family affair.
Yeah. When we first started, I was heavily involved in the renovations, and as we started our family, I was not as involved because it just didn't make sense. But we took our son to one of the houses as a final walkthrough, and I think we talked about this on a previous episode, but
Oh, yeah.
you were installing a toilet,
I was.
and our son wanted to help. So he wound up in the bathtub with all your tools
Yes, he did.
And then turned the water on in the bathtub. And we had to scramble a little bit to get the water off. But
That's right.
that is a memory we all have of him being a little crazy toddler running up and down the halls with a screwdriver, which was probably not the safest thing for him to do.
I think there were some outlet covers missing, so he could have very well gotten an afro
I was
that
on
day.
top of him. But I mean, it was a really fun experience having him be in the house.
No,
and he's not old
absolutely.
enough to do anything of substance. He probably causes more havoc than...
Well, he pulled most of the tools out of my tool bag and put the level on my back, and you know, we joked around his dad's butt level.
Yeah.
His dad's butt level.
Yes.
I don't have two butts, but
Good to know.
his dad's butt's level. I don't know which one.
But it was a fun memory for all of us.
Absolutely.
And if your spouse is just really opposed to it, I think it's just communicating and finding out what they want.
Yeah.
Because your spouse, you know, what might make her, I'm assuming it's a her, a lot of times it's men that are investing and their wife's not on board. But, you know, what if your wife really wants to be able to go get a massage every week? But that's just not something that's feasible given the financial constraints of the family. Help her get to that sooner and give her that reward sooner. And you can change it to a man. I mean, it's...
That wants to go to the gun range.
Yeah.
Or that wants
or
to
get
go...
some massage too. Who knows?
Or that wants to go to the dirt track on Saturday nights and watch a race.
But find ways to say, hey, we can do this if you help me do this other thing.
Yeah, it's a quid pro quo thing.
Right.
And if you don't know what that means, it's a this for that. If you do this, I'll do that.
Right.
And now quid pro quo is not always the best approach because it can be, you know, carrot in front of the horse and getting them to do things they don't want to do. But if you show that it's mutually beneficial,
Right.
and if you can show that, you know, by doing this, I'm going to be able to do that,
Right.
and you're going to really enjoy that, but I need you to do this for me.
Right.
And by doing this, it might mean taking over watching the kids for a weekend so that you can go and attend the seminar.
Right. Or in time, getting your spouse to come with you to the seminars.
Right.
I think that helps a lot too for them to hear it straight from the person. Give them a copy of our book, The Pathfinder's Journey.
Yeah.
It's a great introduction into what the real estate investing lifestyle can be.
Yeah, and it shows how a couple built their roadmap as a family business.
Right.
How they identified that we can achieve this goal quicker, easier, faster by doing it together.
Right.
And yeah, their journey was simplified in ways because they hadn't started a family yet. But even if they did start with a family, they would have still made it.
Right.
We would have definitely narrated their journey a lot differently. Because with us having kids, we know that our limitations. We know that we couldn't spend all night at job sites. Our path would have been drastically slowed, but we would have still made it.
Right.
And why would we have made it? Why would we have still forged that iron in the fire and made sure that we could sharpen it to an axe? It's because our why was big enough. It's because our yearning and desire for a dream life, bigger than what we had ever imagined and bigger than what we had ever thought feasible, was there.
Right.
Because we knew that this dream life is within reach. We just have to put in this hard work.
Right. I think being around people who have achieved it also really helped us.
Yeah, it did.
Because we saw people who made it, and you know, it was hard work for everyone that we've met, but
Yeah, it was.
they were able to do it. So it makes it a little bit more, I guess, tangible to see, hey, these guys did it. They're just like us. They're not, you know, superhumans or anything like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we have a coffee date planned for next week with a young couple. Well, I think they're our age, but
Right.
with another couple to just talk real estate. And I'm hoping it gets them aligned and on the same page, and we can help them with their strategy.
Right.
But if your spouse isn't on board, connecting them with other people that are in the similar situation or where you want to be can really help.
Yeah. Never stop trying to reach them on their level. You know, let's say you are well versed in this real estate realm and you know what ARVs are and you know what HELOCs are and you know what wraparound mortgages are, and you know all this terminology. Don't go to your spouse and start spouting off these acronyms and speaking this foreign language to them and expect them to jump right on board. You can't do that. Why you can't do that is because there's no comfort in that conversation for them. They don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
They have no idea. And while you might use that terminology and show them and say, yeah, by increasing the ARV, we're going to have a higher ROI, which means our cash flow is going to increase. Don't say it like that. No, the way I would approach that conversation is, we found a great home and we didn't pay as much as it was worth. And we were able to fix it up and add value. And now we get to go get another loan on it. And the bank's going to give us money for the difference from what we paid and invested in it to what it's worth now. And now we have this pot of money. We're going to take a portion of that money and go to Disney World.
Yeah. Because
you helped me get there. And not only that, it's going to cash flow, which means each month we're going to get $250 a month for just going through all of this.
Right.
And they get to see the reward. They get to enjoy that reward. And you might even say, of that $250 cash flow that we're getting, I'm going to make sure $100 a month of that is going straight to you to make sure you get to go to the massage person once a month. And say that property, half of that property is for you to go to the spa.
Right. Yeah, it's finding those incentives. So if things work out better than expected, don't just be so focused on putting it into the next deal. Enjoy it as you go.
No,
because
definitely.
if you just roll it into the next deal continually, your spouse is going to get burned out potentially.
Now, while you're going to grow faster by doing that.
Right.
But at what cost?
Right. Having the support of your family is, in my opinion, more important than getting there faster.
Yeah. I mean, I said this quote on a episode before, and I don't know if I heard it somewhere, if it's just a phrase that I've come up with, but I'm going to credit it to someone else because I don't think I'm smart enough to come up with a phrase like this. But lonely is the person on top of the mountain, relishing in the fruits of the labor by themselves. You don't want to be on Success or Dream Island, looking across the water or looking down on the town below you, and your family's down there.
Right.
Or your family's over there.
Right. You hear so many people who are wealthy and successful and their kids have nothing to do with them. That's not the goal. It shouldn't be the goal. To just build money for the sake of having this freedom. It should be about involving your family.
And if you are finding yourself, building that bridge to Dream Island, or you're on your hike up to Success Mountain, and you look behind you and your family's like, please don't leave us behind. Or, hey, have fun on your trip. We're not coming with you. You need to reevaluate.
Right.
Because family is everything. It is. And, we are definitely not here to give you relationship advice. But if that relationship and that family is something you are wanting to hold on to, and you need to hold on to, you need to hold on to it. You need to make sure that you're taking time to make sure they're a part of that journey with you. And if they're not on board and they are not wanting you to do this, and they're saying, if you go do this, we are out of the picture, that's a hard decision for you to make. And you should probably find a way to save that.
Right.
Because real estate investing and getting into this whole world, it's not for everyone.
Right.
And that's okay. You can still find success, and you can still find your way to the top of Success Mountain or to Dream Island and have your family with you, and it not be through real estate investing.
Right.
There are different ways to do it. Some of them may take longer, or might take shorter. But the whole idea of what we preach and what we teach is dreaming that life up. Yes, we did it through real estate investing, so that's what we're comfortable talking about. But the whole idea of this show, the whole idea of our teaching platform is to have a plan, have a roadmap of where you're going, have a plan of how you're going to get there without sacrificing your family, without sacrificing your own mental stability, without sacrificing your lifestyle too much. It's about the ultimate picture, the big picture of where is your life going.
Well, and chasing the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, and retiring at an incredibly young age isn't necessarily the path for everyone.
Right.
Like you just said. And we just want people to live intentionally and not self-medicate with Netflix and beer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To really enjoy your life. And if that means that you work towards financial freedom through real estate like we've done, that's awesome. But if it means that, you're working 40 hours a week and spending the weekends with your kids and that's your family's roadmap and dream life, then that's fantastic. At the end of the day, it's just having a clear plan for your life and living intentionally so that you can live a fulfilled life instead of living through the TV screen.
Yeah. There's so much more out there.
For sure.
It is within reach. I had a conversation with a friend the other day that says, I wish that everyone had the same opportunities to get ahead. And they were telling me a story about how someone was getting evicted. A friend of theirs was getting evicted and saying, it seems like the poor stay poor and the rich get richer. And while there is some truth to that on the widest extremes of it, there's opportunity for everyone. Now that opportunity is met with different challenges for everyone. If you're starting your journey and you have a good paying job and you have a retirement account, you're definitely starting at a different spot than someone that doesn't have a good job, doesn't have a retirement account, doesn't have any funds. You're starting at different places. But do you have the ability to pick up the phone and call somebody? To call someone? Do you have the ability to walk around a neighborhood? Even if you have to take public transportation to get to that neighborhood, you still have the ability to walk around it and knock on some doors. Do you have the ability to go to a free meetup? There are so many opportunities out there. It's just, one is the biggest hurdle is knowing about that opportunity. I think that's the biggest hurdle, is knowing that there is a way. And the second one is motivation.
Right.
The second one is having initiative to move forward, having the fuel in your tank to want to do it.
Right.
That is the biggest other one.
But to get that, you really have to know what you want out of life. And that's where we start with the top 10. Mm-hmm. So this is the top 10 things that make you happiest. It doesn't take as much energy to come up with that top 10 as building out the roadmap. The roadmap's very detailed. So the top 10, it's just what makes you happy. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
I think we came up with ours in an afternoon and have stuck with it because it's funny, like how one of the things on my top 10 is a clean house. And I notice when the house gets disheveled, I get disheveled. And I forgot about it until recently we reviewed our top 10 and you see it very clearly in how I respond. Mm-hmm. So that top 10 it drives decisions that we make. So we have a house cleaner.
Absolutely.
Because you can see me on video. I'm significantly pregnant. So cleaning the house is just not something I'm capable and interested in doing right now. So,
and that's fair.
Right. So it's just, we've aligned our spending with our top 10. And if you get your spouse and your kids involved and say, hey, let's list out what makes us happy, then you can start doing the things that makes your family happy, whether it involves money or not. Most of our things did not involve money, but
a lot of it was time.
Right.
A lot of it involved time. And in order to get that time, it took financial relief to provide that time.
Right.
So while it was time was the answer, money was the source for that answer.
Right.
So is it a family business? I think the better question is, should it be a family business? Right. And how you answer that is completely up to you. I feel like it should be for everyone that does it. Even if you're a single person and you've made disconnect from all of your immediate family, or maybe there's no one left but you. There's still people out there that can be your family, especially within the business.
Right.
There are people that we associate ourselves with out there that are investors that we absolutely consider family.
Yeah.
I mean, There are people I consider brothers. There are godparents. There are god-grandparents.
Don't call them grandparents. They're uncle.
Yeah, uncle. Aunt and uncle. But yeah, there are definitely people out there that I consider my family.
Right.
Because we can uniquely connect with the stresses and the hurdles
and the gains
and the celebrations of real estate investing. Because I tell you, there's no harder conversation to have than trying to speak English with someone that's speaking Cantonese. And that's the only languages y'all both know. There's no conversation more difficult than that. And what I'm referring to is, let's say we have a really big win in real estate. And that win might equal a $70,000 payday and $1,000 a month in cash flow. That's an impossible celebration to share with someone that
is just trying to pay their power bill.
Yeah. Is, celebrating that they have paid off their car note.
Right.
And
that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Someone living paycheck to paycheck is not going to understand when you have an appraisal come back 20% higher than expected.
Yeah. And that conversation is very difficult. So you're going to want to find friends and people within this business that you can have those conversations with.
Right.
Because if you're not having those conversations of, wow, this is tough. How do I make sure that this eviction doesn't turn into a $60,000 renovation? You can't talk to your other friends that way. I mean, about those things.
Right.
It would be incredibly difficult. So, reach out to those people. But is it a family business? If your family is part of this business, you can absolutely share and talk to your family about that business. If something weird happens with your rental property and your spouse is on board, you can absolutely say, oh my gosh, you will not believe what this tenant called and told me today. Like there's snakes in the neighbor's house and the cats are eating them or something weird like that.
The cats are eating the snakes?
Sure.
Okay. Just making sure I heard that right.
Say they're bobcats. I don't know. There's a pack of wild coyotes in the swimming pool.
How's the soapbox going?
I don't know. I don't feel like I really climbed on it at the end of this episode. I think I was on it earlier.
Okay.
So I've definitely had time to climb down, get in my rocker and yell at the kids in the front yard.
Oh my gosh. Goodness.
But, is it a family business? I hope it is. Should it be a family business? I think so. I think Tiffany might think so.
Agreed.
But, take some of these tips and try to implement them into your life.
Yeah.
If you're just getting started on this road to investing into your future and forming this dream life, take time to get to know what your spouse and family really wants, what they really need, and find a way to bring them into it with you.
Right.
Because a journey that is shared with those that you love is a journey worthwhile. It is a journey so worthwhile that you can be 80 years old on your deathbed or 100 years old on your deathbed and look and say, I'm so glad I took this journey because my family was with me.
Should get that framed. Get it cross-stitched.
I've already forgotten what I said, so I'm so glad it's recorded.
Right.
Oh my goodness. But that is what I'm passionate about.
Right.
I'm so passionate about people seeing what their life can be and achieving it with the ones they love.
Right.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about involving your family in the business. What lessons can you take from this podcast and apply to your life? Don't let the time you just invested go to waste. You only get one life, so live it purposefully. That's all we have for you today. See you next time.
Are you ready to discover and build your dream life? Then it's time to become a Pathfinder. Head over to onpurposeinvestor.com and sign up for our newsletter to get tips and tricks to help you find your path and get the latest from our blog. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate an honest review on your favorite podcast app. If you're enjoying this show, share it with friends, family, and fellow investors. See you next time at the On Purpose Investor Podcast.